Mechanized agriculture and its effect on American health. I'm going to be starting with a quote from source D that states, during the period 2000 to 2024, the world's total population is projected to grow by 1.76 billion persons. So as a result of this, we're obviously going to see a higher demand for basic things like clothing and housing, but most importantly, food. And as a society, we've already come with a lot of technological innovations that help us to produce food in a more faster and efficient way, but this does come with a lot of risks, and that's what leads to my research question: to what extent has mechanized agriculture affected the health of Americans? So in this graph, you can see you have two bars in each category of different food. The light yellow represents 1970, and the dark yellow represents 2010. This is the average consumption. And as you can see, especially in grain products and fats and oils, we've seen a significant decrease. And this is because grain products and foods with a lot of fat and oils in them are actually way easier to produce for the food industry, and therefore they make a lot more of it in order to sustain a good amount of food for the 300 million Americans that are living in this country. But the problem with this is that these products are oftentimes unhealthy and they don't have as many nutrients and other kind of vitamins in them that we need. And of course, mechanized agriculture does make farming a lot easier on farmers. And as a matter of fact, only 2% of the American workforce today consists of farmers, which is a really significant decrease compared to the 42% we saw in 1970. And again, this is just a result of mechanized agriculture making farming so much easier. So how does it make farming easier? Well, we have chemical fertilizers, which increase crop yield and give us larger fruits and vegetables. We have growth hormones that are given to animals that increase meat and dairy production, and then we have machinery, which allows us to produce food faster and more efficiently. But of course, all of this does come at a cost. I'm going to be starting with DDT, which is an organochlorine found in most chemical fertilizers. The purpose of DDT is to increase crop yield, which initially feeds more people. DDT has actually been known to cause multiple types of cancer, damage to the nervous system, lung damage, injury to reproductive organs, and birth defects. The reason this is such a huge problem in America is because DDT is in almost every chemical fertilizer that we treat our fruits and vegetables with. So unless you buy organic fruits and vegetables, you've probably consumed this in your life, and therefore your risk of having any of these problems in the future has increased. Another problem is the use of hormones in dairy production. I'm going to be focusing on a hormone called RBGH, which is a growth hormone given to dairy cows in order to increase milk production. RBGH, it's given to cows through their food, and the hormone actually causes really painful infections in their udders, and that causes the production of pus, which to a human may not sound all too concerning, but it's important to note that the FDA allows up to 750 million pus cells in every liter of our milk. So anybody out there who has drank cow's milk that isn't organic, you've consumed cow pus. And cow pus is actually known to cause a lot of bacterial infections and stomach viruses, which in some severe cases have led to death. So a quote from Bob Dylan's Blowing in the Wind asks, how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? I think this is an important question to be targeted at the food industry because of all of the health problems it has caused and all the deaths it has caused as well, and yet little to nothing has been done about it. So this could either be a result of them simply not knowing, which is very unlikely, or they're just ignoring the problem because there's so little to resort to. And there are actually other health consequences that I've yet to mention, such as diabetes. And between 1990 and 2010, the number of people living with diabetes has tripled. And as you can see, I have some data here collected by the CDC. You can see our population continuously increasing, and as it increases, so do multiple types of diabetes. This just refers back to source D with the increasing population, the higher demand for food, and therefore the food industry is going to resort to more and more dangerous and unhealthy methods of food production, and therefore that's why we can see a lot of health problems increasing. The only limitation to this is that this projection does imply that no improvement to our diets will be made in the future, And that may not necessarily be true, especially if this problem is brought to light in the eyes of more Americans. It will encourage more people to better their diets, which may even cause our rates of health issues to decline. So this leads to my solution. The initial thought to solve this problem is that Americans should resort entirely to organic farming. The only issue with this is that organic farming requires a lot of intense manual labor, and it would never be able to supply enough food for 300 million people. So as long as, well, as well as we as a society, if we don't come up with a way that's safe and efficient to produce food, this problem as a whole isn't necessarily solvable. However, we as individuals can work to improve our own health, which can, of course, result in declined rates of health issues. And that's simply to just implement organic products into your diet. So an example of this is drinking organic milk, which will not contain RBGH in most cases. It usually ranges at about $5 to $6. And a couple of brands include Organic Valley Beverages, Clover, Shamrock Farms, and Horizon, and these are available at pretty much every local supermarket. And if you'd like to decrease your exposure to DDT and health problems that causes, you're going to want to look for fruits and vegetables that have tags or stickers or any kind of label that states that they're organic, because that means they're not treated with any kind of fertilizer that contains DDT. And there's my list.
Okay, a couple of questions for you, Abby. So the first one is, what information did you need before you began your research, and how did that information shape your research?
I needed information about the rates of increasing of diabetes because I thought it was incredibly important to note how the methods of food production as a result of population growth are obviously causing more health problems. And that shaped my research because I originally was going to focus on specifically health problems, but I decided that it was also important to know like how it's also affecting our economy and our workforce.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, how did you use the conclusions and questions of others to advance your own research?
Well, I actually saw the question, like, how would we completely resort to organic farming? And that's why I thought it was really important to bring it up in my presentation because it's impossible for us to come up with any kind of machinery or technology that would allow us to produce healthy food while also producing enough to feed 300 million Americans. So, yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. Thanks.